Ravi moved silently through the metal hulls of the giant alien ship Scifi. He wore an old gray uniform with oil stains on it. His job was simple: clean, fix, and stay out of the way. Nobody spoke to him unless they had to, and when they did, it was only to insult or give orders. He was a human, and humans were still new to the Galactic Council. Most aliens believed Earth was a weak planet full of dirty and backward people, even though Earth had sent scientists, diplomats, and workers to live on council ships. Humans were mostly treated like low-class labor. Ravi had been working on the Scifi for 2 years. He was quiet and hard-working. He learned fast and solved many problems in the ship's systems, though he never got credit for it. But no one hated him more than the Emperor's twin daughters Nira and Vexa. They were tall and proud, with pale blue skin and shining silver eyes. They wore rich clothes and walked with their heads high. Every time they saw Ravi, they wrinkled their noses. "There goes the filthy one," Nira said once, loud enough for others to hear. "Does he even understand our language? Or does he just nod like a bug?" Vexa added. Others laughed. Ravi said nothing. He just kept walking. He had no friends on the ship. The other workers stayed away from him to avoid trouble. The officers ignored him, and the nobles acted like he was invisible. But Ravi saw everything, every wire, every vent, every broken panel. He walked places the royals never visited, and he listened. He remembered voices and faces. He watched the way the engines worked and how the ship's systems connected. He had learned one truth. On this ship, knowledge was power. But power was always hidden behind pride. One evening, while repairing a cooling unit deep in the lower decks, Ravi heard voices. 2 officers were speaking in whispers. He turned off his tools and stayed quiet. They were not from the Therian Empire. Their skin was dark green, and their language had a sharp sound. Ravi had heard that voice once before. It belonged to a race from the Zarnic Empire, a rival of the Council. "They won't see it coming," one said. "We placed the disruptor just before the meeting. The ship will lose all power in the chaos. We strike." Ravi stayed still. His heart beat fast. The voices faded as the 2 spies walked away. He waited a while, then stood up and ran to the nearest officer. He tried to explain what he had heard. The officer frowned. "Are you sure you understood it? Maybe you just heard some engineers. Why don't you go back to your work?" "No," Ravi said, calmly but clearly. "They're not engineers. They said the council meeting will be attacked. Please check it." The officer shook his head. "You humans are always jumping to conclusions. Go fix something." Ravi walked away. But he didn't stop. Instead, he went to the place where the spies had talked about placing the disruptor. It was near the ship's central energy lines. No one was there. He opened a small panel and searched behind a group of wires. He saw a black device, pulsing softly with red light. He didn't touch it. He took a picture with his communicator and sent it to the emergency alert channel for engineering. Heads. Then he left the area and went back to his quarters as if nothing had happened. Hours later, alarms sounded. Guards rushed into the halls. Officers shouted commands. A message went out. A known device found. Attack stopped. Emergency meeting called. No one said Ravi's name, but someone had clearly listened to the alert. Next morning, the ship was buzzing with whispers. The Emperor had arrived on the ship early to hold the council meeting in person. The daughters walked through the halls with angry looks. Something had shaken the royal family. Ravi continued his work as usual. Later that day, a man in a black and gold uniform came to see him. His name was Commander Oral, an Earth officer working with the council. "Did you send this photo?" he asked, showing the picture of the disruptor. "Yes," Ravi answered. "Do you know what it was?" "No, but I knew it didn't belong." Commander Oral nodded slowly. "You saved the lives of over 50 leaders today." Ravi didn't smile. "I just did what I thought was right." Oral looked at him with new eyes. "Earth will remember this, and so will others." As the commander left, Ravi looked out the small window of the hallway. Stars moved slowly past the ship. Somewhere out there, his home planet was watching. He didn't want praise. He didn't want fame. But something inside him had changed. He had always been treated like dirt. Now, just maybe, someone had seen him dot in a quiet room at the top of the ship. Emperor Tharos stood with his daughters. He was an old and wise ruler, with deep golden skin and eyes that had seen many wars. Who found the device? He asked. Some worker. A human, Vexa said, with disgust. Ravi, they call him. Nira added. The one who smells like oil. Tharos said nothing for a long time. Then he turned to his guards. Find this human, he said. I want to know more about him. The daughters looked shocked. But Father Vexa began. Silence. The emperor said, This boy may have just saved us from disaster, and Earth is rising. We may need him more than you know. Ravi's hands were covered in grease as he worked inside the panel of a heating system. Sparks flew from a loose wire, but he didn't flinch. The noise of footsteps passed behind him. He didn't turn. He had gotten used to being ignored, forgotten, and stepped over. But this time, someone stopped. You there, a voice said. Ravi looked up. A royal guard stood in front of him, tall and armored in silver blue plating. Come with me. The emperor wants to speak with you. Ravi blinked. Me? The guard didn't answer. He simply turned and began walking. Ravi wiped his hands on a cloth and followed, unsure what was going on. No one had ever spoken to him like this before. As he walked through the clean upper halls of the ship, many eyes turned toward him. Some whispered. Others laughed softly. The workers stayed silent. The nobles looked insulted by his presence. The guard led him to a round chamber. Inside, Emperor Tharos sat on a wide throne made of smooth black stone. He wore a long dark robe, his eyes sharp but calm. Nira and Vexa stood beside him, both dressed in shining robes. Their expressions were cold. They looked at Ravi as if he didn't belong in the same room. The emperor raised his hand. The room went quiet. You are Ravi of Earth, he said. Ravi nodded. Yes, sir. You found the device that would have destroyed the council meeting. Yes, you were not ordered to do so. No, I just listened and followed where the danger might be. The emperor studied him. You were not trained as a guard. You were not trusted by officers. Still, you acted. Why? Ravi paused. Because lives were in danger, and because someone had to do it. There was silence. Nira rolled her eyes. Vexa looked away. The emperor leaned forward slightly. Courage without pride. Cleverness without reward. These are rare things, Ravi. Of Earth, I don't need reward, Ravi said. You will get one anyway, the emperor replied. You will be moved to the observation decks. You will have your own room. Better clothing. New duties. Ravi bowed slightly. Thank you. You may go. As Ravi turned to leave, Vexa whispered. Just loud enough for him to hear. Enjoy your clean room, human. But it won't change your smell. Ravi didn't respond. He simply walked out of the room. Ravi's new room was small but private. It had a window that looked out into space. His new uniform was blue and silver, clean and strong. He was given tools that were sharper, faster, and easier to use. But most important, he was given access to the ship's central maps and systems. He now worked in the observation deck, watching over energy flows, warning signs, and movement in the nearby space. He had a small seat in a long row of screens and scanners. He learned fast. He studied every code and watched every light blink, though his rank was still low. Some officers began to nod at him. A few even said thank you when he fixed things. Not many, but enough to make him feel something different. Respect. One night, Ravi was walking through a quiet hall when he heard whispers again. This time, the voices were sharp and fast. He stopped and leaned near the wall. They say the human is in the control room now. He's just a worker. He got lucky once. He won't be lucky twice. The Zornik spies won't make the same mistake again. Ravi heard footsteps coming. Toward him, he stepped back into the shadows. Two figures passed, wearing high-ranking robes. But Ravi could see their skin. They were not Therian. Their eyes were too dark. Their steps too quiet. He stayed hidden until they were gone. Then he made a decision. He went straight to Commander Oral and told him what he had seen. They are not just spies, Ravi said. They are walking through the upper halls like nobles. They are deep in the system. Commander Oral looked serious. We have feared this. But if they are that close to the throne, then things are worse than we thought. Ravi leaned forward. Let me help. I know the paths. I know where they move. You are just a worker, Ravi, Oral said. No, I am more than that now. Let me prove it. The commander thought for a moment, then nodded. All right, but you must be careful. No one must know, not even the emperor. In the days that followed, Ravi watched carefully. He saw which nobles entered which doors. He marked which ones changed their route at night. He noticed who avoided guards and who never left footprints in the dust. He made notes, quietly. He shared them with Commander. Then one day, something happened. An alarm rang through the ship. One of the engine rooms had exploded. No one was hurt, but power in 3 sections went dark. The attack was silent and well-planned. Everyone blamed a system error. Ravi didn't. He checked the logs. He found the access code that entered the room. Before the blast, it belonged to a noble, one of the ones he had marked. He showed it to Oral. This is proof, Oral said. We can't let this go. But the problem was bigger than just one noble. There were more, and they were hiding in the highest places of the ship. Commander Oral brought the evidence to the security chiefs, and for the first time, Ravi was called to speak before a full group of officers. They listened. They didn't laugh. They didn't mock. They listened. Ravi stood straight. He explained everything simply. He showed how the spies had hidden in plain sight, how the engine was attacked, and how more damage could come if they did nothing. When he finished, the room was silent. An officer said, "This worker has saved us twice now." Another added, "He has eyes sharper than our guards." Ravi felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. He belonged, far above, in the royal chambers. Emperor Tharos read the report silently. Beside him, his daughters watched. This human. Again, Nira said, folding her arms. He is starting to act like he's important, Vexa muttered. The emperor closed the file. He is important, he said softly. More than you know. The daughters looked at each other. They had called him filthy. But now, others were starting to call him something else. Useful, brave, wise, and soon, maybe something more. The council chamber was quiet. Emperor Tharos stood at the center, his golden robe flowing behind him. Round him were his most trusted leaders. A large screen floated above them, showing the map of the galaxy. Red lights blinked in the outer zones. Warships moved like ants across the stars. The enemy was getting closer. The Zarg Empire had already taken to small planets. They had spies hidden inside the council, and Ravi's reports had helped stop more attacks. But everyone knew something bigger was coming. The emperor turned to his daughters, Nira and Vexa. Both stood tall, wearing armor instead of their usual fine robes. Even they knew the time for games was over. We need stronger alliances, Tharos said. We have strong allies already, Vexa replied. Not strong enough, the emperor answered. Earth is rising. Their ships are few, but their minds are sharp. That human Ravi has saved this council more than once. Nira crossed her arms. He is still just a worker. He is more than that now, Tharos said. He has proven himself with actions, not words. The room was silent. The emperor looked at both daughters with steady eyes. The leaders of Earth have sent a message. They wish to form a stronger bond with our empire. Vexa frowned. What kind of bond? Tharos paused for a moment. Then he said clearly, a marriage. Nira took a step back. You cannot be serious. I am, Tharos said. One of you will marry the human. This will join Earth and Therion together in honor. It will show the council that we value action, not just blood. The sisters stared at him in shock. Father, he is nothing, Vexa said. He smells of oil and metal. He is not royal. He is not one of us. He is better than many royals I have seen, Tharos replied. He is brave, wise, and loyal. We barely know him, Nira said sharply. Then it is time. You learn, the emperor said. The choice is not yours. One of you will be his wife. Decide between yourselves. You have 3 days. News of the Emperor's command spread across the ship like fire. Some nobles were angry. Others were curious. A few even laughed behind closed doors. But among the workers, there was quiet excitement. "Did you hear?" One whispered. "The human, Ravi. One of the daughters will marry him?" "Impossible," another said. "They hated him." "Not anymore," came the reply. Ravi himself said nothing. He heard the news from Commander Oral. "They want to tie Earth and Therion through you," Oral said. "You are no longer just a worker. You are now a bridge between two worlds." Ravi looked down. "I never asked for this." "I know," the commander said. "But sometimes history chooses people who never asked to lead." That evening, Ravi stood alone in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. He remembered the days when he walked in silence, wearing dirty clothes, fixing broken wires. Now, the same people who ignored him were talking about him. The same ones who insulted him were watching him closely. He didn't want power. He didn't care about titles. But he cared about doing what was right. As he stood there, the door opened. Nira stepped inside, wearing a simple silver robe. She walked up beside him, but didn't look at him. "So, this is the man I might marry," she said quietly. Ravi didn't move. "I didn't ask for it, neither did I," Nira said. They stood in silence for a moment. "You're not like the others," Ravi said. "You never needed to be cruel." "But you were." Nira looked at him, surprised. "You think I was cruel?" "You both were," Ravi said calmly. "I got used to it, but that doesn't make it right." Nira said nothing for a while. Then she said, "Why didn't you ever fight back?" "Because I had nothing to prove," Ravi replied. "My work speaks for me." She nodded slowly. "I don't hate you, you know. I don't need your hate or your love." Ravi said, "I just need honesty." Nira looked at him again, this time with different eyes. Not like he was beneath her, but like she didn't understand him and maybe wanted to. The next day, Vexa came to see him. She was sharper in her words. "You may think you're special now," she said. "But this marriage idea is a political tool. I know that." Ravi replied, "Then don't think it means anything more." "I don't want anything more," he said. "If your people want peace, and this helps, I'll do my part. But I will not be treated like trash again." Vex's eyes narrowed. "You speak boldly now." "I always did," Ravi said. "You just never listened." Vexa turned and left without a word. The 3 days passed quickly. Ravi continued his duties, inspecting systems and supporting the defense team. War was still near, and danger hadn't passed. At the same time, the royal sisters argued behind closed doors. Both didn't want to marry him, but neither wanted the other to do it either. Pride held them both. In the end, Emperor Tharos made the final decision. He called the council together. Nobles and officers stood in silence. Ravi stood at the edge of the room, wearing his clean uniform. The emperor looked at his daughters. "This is not a punishment," he said. "This is a chance for something new. Earth is not weak. The future is changing. You must change with it." He looked at Ravi. "You have faced insults with silence and threats with courage. You didn't rise by force. You rose by character. That is strength." Then he said the words clearly. "Nira will marry Ravi of Earth. The bond between our empires begins with this step." The room stayed silent. Nira took a slow breath and walked toward Ravi. She did not smile, but she did not look angry either. She stood beside him. "We start this path together," she said. Ravi looked at her, then at the emperor, and gave a respectful nod. "I will not fail this honor," he said. And so, the filthy human became part of the royal house. Not by birth. Not by power. But by proving that character matters more than class. And soon, the galaxy would learn just how strong that bond would become. The air inside the ship Serethis felt heavier than before. Tension had grown. The war between the Council and the Zarnic Empire was getting closer. Ships had been spotted near the border stars. Everyone was preparing for battle. But inside the royal chambers, a different kind of tension was building. The wedding was only days away. Ravi sat quietly inside his new room. It was larger than before, with a small library, a polished table, and even a soft bed. The window showed the stars. Outside, calm and endless still, Ravi didn't feel like a prince. He still felt like a worker. He still remembered every insult, every look, every cold whisper in the halls. Now, they nodded to him. Now, they spoke with soft voices, but the looks in their eyes had not changed. He knew the truth. They didn't respect him yet, not fully. They only respected what he had done, not who he was. Nira was silent too. In her room, she looked at herself in the mirror. Her silver robe shimmered under the lights. She touched her hair, then lowered her hand. She thought of Ravi. He had not begged for her hand. He had not praised her beauty. He had not even looked nervous when the emperor announced the match. He had stood strong, calm, simple. She had expected him to act like a servant, but he did not. He had surprised her, and now she didn't know what to feel. Later that day, Nira was called to the strategy room. All major leaders were there. Screens showed ship movements, enemy signals, and red alert zones. Ravi stood in the corner, holding a report. Emperor Tharos stood near the center. War is near, he said. Czarnik ships are moving faster than expected. They may strike within 2 weeks. One general spoke. We need a plan to protect our fuel stations. Without them, the Srethis won't hold. Ravi stepped forward. I've studied the maps, he said. There's a pattern in how they attack. They strike weak spots, then pull back fast. If we plant false signals at one of the stations, we can trap them. The generals looked at each other. One raised an eyebrow. You want to use a station as bait, yes, Ravi said. But it won't be a real station. We'll build a dummy one. Same energy output, same lights. But no, real fuel inside. Nira watched him. His voice was steady. His hands didn't shake. The emperor nodded. Interesting plan. Who will lead the setup? I will, Ravi said. Nira took a step forward. I'll go too. Everyone turned to her. I want to see this idea for myself, she said. The emperor didn't object. Then go together. Let this plan be your first act of unity. The next day, Ravi and Nira boarded a small scout ship with a small team of engineers. They flew to an empty moon near the council borders. The area was quiet, dark, and perfect for their plan. The dummy station was built in 3 days. Lights were installed. Heat and energy signals were added. From a distance, it looked real. Ravi worked beside the others, lifting metal, checking power lines, even crawling under panels. Nira watched him closely. You still work like a laborer, she said. I am a laborer, he answered. You are about to marry royalty. I didn't ask for that, Ravi replied. But I will still be myself. Nira sat down beside him. You don't act like anyone I know. Maybe that's a good thing, Ravi said. She looked at him for a long time. You don't hate me, she asked. No, he said. But I remember everything. Nira lowered her eyes. I was wrong, she said softly. Ravi didn't reply, but something in his face changed. The walls between them, built from pride and pain, started to crack. On the 4th night, the warning signal lit up. Enemy ships were approaching. Ravi gave the signal to power up the dummy station. Lights turned on. Energy levels rose. The trap was set. Ravi, Nira, and the team hid inside a nearby crater. Watching through scopes, a Czarnik cruiser appeared in the sky. It flew closer to the fake station. They're scanning, Ravi whispered. They'll believe it, Nira said. But suddenly, a second ship appeared. Then a third, then a fourth. They're not here for one station, Ravi said. They know. Blast hit the moon's surface near them. The ground shook. They found us, an engineer shouted. Ravi stood up. Back to the ship. Now, the team ran across the rocks. Fire and smoke rose behind them. The enemy was already landing. Nira tripped, falling to the ground. A metal beam from a nearby explosion rolled toward her. Ravi turned and pulled her out just in time. Dust filled the air. He helped her to her feet. You saved me, she said, coughing. You're not allowed to die before the wedding. He joked, just a little. They reached the scout ship and flew off. Behind them, the moon lit up in flames. But before leaving the area, Ravi pressed a button on his wrist device. A hidden signal went out. From the shadows, a council fleet jumped into the zone. Lasers lit the sky. The Zornik ships were surprised and surrounded. Ravi's trap had worked, but not in the way they expected. Back on the Serethis, the news spread fast. The enemy had been fooled. The trap had captured the Zornik ships. A victory had been won, and it was Ravi's plan that made it happen. Inside the royal hall, nobles clapped. Some bowed slightly as Ravi passed. Even the guards now greeted him with respect. The wedding was only 1 day away. Nira stood beside him now, not with cold eyes, but with quiet calm. "I was wrong about you," she said. "I didn't need you to believe in me," Ravi said. "But I'm glad you do now." They stood at the window together, watching the stars move. Two very different people, joined by a fire greater than pride. And tomorrow, the bond would be sealed. Not in gold, but in ash, in battle, and in truth. The wedding day came quietly. There was no grand celebration, no dancing, no music. The war had changed everything. The ceremony was short. Only a few royal leaders and officers stood inside the glass hall. Where stars could be seen above, Ravi wore a simple silver robe. His face was calm. Nira stood beside him, dressed in white and blue. Her hair was tied back, and her eyes showed a strange mix of strength and peace. Emperor Tharos gave the final blessing. Today, two worlds come together, not by force, not by fear, but by respect earned through action. Ravi and Nira nodded. The marriage was official. They were now husband and wife. But there was no time to rest. Just hours later, a message arrived from the outer zones. Zornik ships had broken through a defense line. One of the council's largest stations was under attack. The Serethis moved fast through space. Warships followed close behind. The enemy had surprised them. No one had expected an attack so soon after the last one. Inside the command room, officers shouted orders. Maps changed every minute as ships moved in the stars. Ravi stood beside Commander Oral. Nira stood on the other side, watching closely. The station holds food, fuel, and supplies for 5 planets, Oral said. If it falls, thousands will suffer. Ravi studied the map. They're moving in waves, he said. 3 groups, front, middle, and rear. But the rear group is slow. That's their weak point. They're using speed to confuse us. Nira added. Ravi looked up. What if we break the middle group from inside? Oral raised an eyebrow. How? We can use a small team to slip into their middle formation, Ravi said. We hit their command ship from close range if we cut off their orders. The rest of the groups will be confused. That's a suicide mission, one officer said. Only if we're slow, Ravi replied. I'll lead it. Nira stepped forward. Then I'm going to. Everyone turned to the Emperor. Tharos stared at his daughter, then at Ravi. His face was serious, but his voice was steady. You are both soldiers now, he said. Do what must be done. The mission began in silence. A small group of fighters, including Ravi and Nira, left the Serethis and flew into enemy space. Their ship was small and fast, with black coating to hide from scanners. Ravi sat at the front, watching the enemy ships grow larger on the screen. He took a deep breath. Ready? Nira nodded. Always. Their ship slipped through a blind spot between two Zarnik vessels. They flew low, just above a large engine carrier, and reached the middle group's side. There it is, Nira said, pointing. Command ship. It was larger than the others. Black armor, glowing red lines across the hull. It looked like a moving shadow. We go under, Ravi said. The small ship dipped beneath the enemy cruiser. Nira activated the magnets, locking onto the outer shell. Time to walk, she said. Both of them stepped out. Wearing black suits and carrying special devices, they crawled across the metal body of the ship, planting signal bombs on key spots. Ravi placed the last one near a vent, ready to fly. He asked. Nira smiled slightly. After you. They jumped back to their ship and shot away. Moments later, the bombs exploded, creating smoke and power loss inside the Zarnik ship. Inside the command room of the enemy cruiser, officers shouted in panic. Signals failed. Engines stopped. The entire middle group began to lose direction. Back on the Serethis, Commander Oral saw the opening. Now, he shouted. Council warships moved and fast. Lasers and missiles lit up the sky. The Czarnik fleet broke apart. Hours later, the battle ended. The enemy ships pulled back. The station was safe. The council had one dot inside the Serethis. Cheers filled the air. Officers clapped each other on the back. Messages of thanks came from nearby planets. And Ravi? He sat on a quiet bench near the engine room, drinking water and wiping dust from his face. Nira walked up beside him. Still sitting like a worker, she said. He looked at her, still standing like a warrior. She sat down next to him. You led the mission. You gave the idea. And you survived. You helped me survive, Ravi said. Nira looked at him carefully. When this all started, I didn't think much of you. I know, he replied. But now, she said, I see why my father chose you. Ravi didn't smile, but there was a calm in his eyes. I didn't come here to be important. He said, I came here to work, to help. That hasn't changed, Nira nodded. Maybe that's what makes you important. They sat quietly for a while. No shouting, no commands, just two people who had fought together, learned together, and changed together. In the royal meeting hall, Emperor Tharos received the final report. He read the words slowly. Victory led by Ravi of Earth. Czarnik middle formation. Broken command ship disabled. Station secured. He closed the file and looked at the stars outside. Behind him, one advisor whispered, He is not just a worker anymore. The Emperor said nothing, but his thoughts were clear. The human they once called filthy had just led a mission that saved the Council, and this was only the beginning. The Council celebrated for days after the victory at Station 9. Ravi's name was now known across the Empire. Some called him the Earthborn Strategist. Others called him the Unseen Blade. But Ravi didn't care for names. He still woke early. He still trained. And he still ate with the workers, not the royals. Nira noticed how he stayed the same, even after the glory. It confused her. She had met many warriors who changed after a single medal. But Ravi didn't want attention. That made her curious. One evening, Nira found him working in the repair dock, checking a damaged engine with a few mechanics. You're not an officer now, she asked. Standing near him, I'm whatever the ship needs today, Ravi replied. Wiping oil from his hands, you led the mission that saved the Council. You could sit in a high chair now. I'd rather fix things than watch others break them, he said calmly. Nira paused. Then she sat beside him on a metal box. You confuse me, Ravi. He smiled faintly. That means I'm doing something right. They both laughed softly. But peace did not last. 2 days later, a strange signal was received by the Serethis. It came from deep space. Far outside the Council's maps, the signal was weak, but clear. A human voice, warning, a known force rising. Beyond Czarnik zone, entire colony lost, no survivors. Do not come, repeat, do not come. Ravi was in the command center when it played. The room went silent. That's an old Earth code, Ravi said. We use those signals on lost outposts. Commander Oral nodded. The location is far. Even the Czarnik don't go there. But someone did, Nira said, and now they're gone. Ravi stepped forward. We need to check it, Oral looked unsure. It could be a trap, or it could be a warning, Ravi replied. The Emperor was called. Tharos listened to the signal carefully. He sat quietly for a while, then turned to Ravi. You've faced danger and survived. If this message is real, I trust you to lead the mission. Take who you need. Ravi bowed. Thank you, sir. Nira stood up. I'm going to. Her father gave a small nod. Then go together. And return with answers. The journey took 2 days. They flew in a small, fast scout ship. Only 5 people on board, Ravi, Nira, 2 pilots, and a tech expert named Lundot. As they neared the signal's origin, things felt strange. The stars outside the windows seemed to still. No signals. No movement. Just a dead silence in space. Then they saw it. A floating colony. Broken. Torn into pieces. Bodies drifted outside the shattered walls. Machines were frozen in space. There were no lights. No life. They docked at a safe point. We go in pairs. Ravi said, Nira, you're with me. Lun, stay with the ship. If anything happens, leave. Understood? Lun nodded nervously. Ravi and Nira stepped into the dark ruins. The inside was worse. Walls were scratched, as if something had crawled through the metal. Control rooms were burnt. Screens showed only static. They walked slowly, weapons ready. What could do this? Nira whispered. Ravi pointed at the walls. Not Zarnak. Their attacks leave energy marks. These are claws. They reached the main control room. And found a single recording. Ravi played it. A scared human voice appeared on screen. The man looked hurt, with blood on his face. If you find this, don't answer any signals from unknown sources. We were attacked after we responded to a strange call. It wasn't Zarnak. It wasn't anything we've seen. It knew our names. It spoke in our voices. It came from the black side of space. We tried to run, but it was already inside the ship. The screen turned black. Nira looked at Ravi. This is worse than we thought. Ravi nodded. We need to leave. Now, back on the ship. Lun was pale. We lost power for 1 second, he said. Just 1 second. All systems shut off, then came back. Ravi's face turned serious. That means it touched us. They launched into space, but something followed. At first, it was just a shadow behind them. Then the shadow changed shape. A dark ship. No lights, no sound. It didn't match any known design. It moved like a ghost. Ravi stood behind the pilots. Don't stop. Go full speed. The ship began to shake. The enemy was close. Suddenly, the engines cut off. All lights went out. A heavy silence filled the air. Then a voice came through the speakers. It sounded like Ravi. I'm not your enemy. Nira looked at him. That's your voice. Ravi stared at the speaker. No, that's not me. The voice continued. I'm what follows. I'm what learns. I see your minds. Everyone froze. Then the lights came back. The enemy ship was gone. Ravi looked at the screen. Set course for Serethis. We need to warn them. This is not just about Zarnak anymore. The ship returned 3 days later. Inside the Serethis, Ravi stood before the council. There is something new, he said. Something not in your maps. It copies voices. It knows thoughts. It doesn't destroy for land or power. It destroys because it can. The room was silent. Emperor Tharos finally spoke. Then we must prepare. Ravi nodded. Start by warning every system. Tell them not to respond to strange calls. And whatever it is, we must learn to fight it. Nira stepped beside him. We faced it once. We can face it again. The emperor looked at them both. You two are not just a union of marriage now. You are a union of war. And far in deep space, unseen by any eyes, the shadow moved again. The great halls of Serethis were no longer filled with celebration or music. Soldiers trained without pause. Scientists worked day and night, studying the strange recording Ravi brought from the dead colony every leader in the empire had seen. The message, and all of them agreed. A new threat had entered their world. It had no name, no face, no known origin. Ravi only called it the copying darkness. The council gave Ravi full command of the defense project. His first step was to prepare every colony for silent attacks. His second was to teach them how to fight something they could not see. But even with all his skills, Ravi knew they were not ready. We don't know what it wants, he told Nira. One night as they stood under the stars, we only know it copies and watches. Nira looked at the sky, her voice calm. Then we give it nothing to copy and nothing to fear. Ravi turned to her. You've changed. So have you? She smiled. And in that silent moment, there was understanding between them. What had begun as a forced union had now become something deeper, something real. A month later, the Empire received another signal. This one came from Tarna Station, a research outpost near the edge of their known space. The voice was not human, not ZA or NAK. It was broken, cold, like a whisper mixed with static. We see your light. We walk in your shape. You hide behind machines, but we are already inside. Before the message ended, a final warning came from the Tarna's commander. They're not coming. They're already here. Then silence. No more signals. No response. Another station lost. Ravi gathered the council. We must not wait any longer, he said. We need to face this threat now. Some leaders wanted to hide. Others wanted to move their cities underground. But Tharos stood up. I have seen fear crush empires, he said. But we are not cowards. If Ravi says we must act, we will act. Ravi requested a single mission, a small ship, fast, with one goal: draw out the enemy and study it. I will go myself, Ravi said. I've seen how it moves. I know what to expect. Nira stepped forward. Then I'm going to. Ravi shook his head. No, this time, it's too dangerous. Nira frowned. You forget. We're a team now. She turned to the Emperor. Let me go, Father. The Emperor was silent for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. Go together. Come back together. They named the mission Dark Watch. Aboard the stealth ship Talon, Ravi, Nira, and a crew of 6 flew toward the last known signal. They had no weapons strong enough to destroy the enemy, but they had traps, light walls, energy nets, sound-based sensors, all designed by Ravi and the tech teams. For 3 days, they waited in the silent dark. Then it came. First, the lights flickered. Then the screen showed wrong reflections. One screen showed Ravi standing at the control board, but Ravi was beside Nira. It's copying us, she whispered. They activated the energy nets. A deep hum filled the ship. The walls glowed. Then came the voice. Why do you run from yourself? It spoke in Nira's voice. Why do you fight your own thoughts? It spoke in Ravi's voice. But Ravi didn't listen. He had expected this. He moved quickly to the control panel and activated the light burst, a weapon designed to flash pure white light that could reveal energy-based life forms. The ship exploded with brightness. And for a moment they saw it, a shape, thin and tall, with shifting skin and empty eyes. It had no mouth, but it spoke in voices that weren't its own. It screamed as the light touched it. Then it vanished. The sensors showed a trail. Ravi ordered the pilot to follow. The Talon chased the trail into a strange zone of space where stars didn't shine. The ship's lights grew weak. We're in its world now, Nira whispered. Suddenly, the ship stopped. Everything froze. Even time felt slower. Then, the darkness spoke again. You fight well, but you are small. We do not destroy for war. We end to begin again. Ravi pressed a button on his suit. A hidden beacon activated, sending a burst signal to Serathis. Let them see this, he said. The screen showed the enemy clearly now. Thousands of shadow-like forms floating through dark space. They are many, Nira said. Ravi nodded. But they can be seen. That's enough. Suddenly, the light burst faded. The forms rushed toward the ship. Ravi looked at Nira. If we don't make it back, we will, she said. Together. He smiled. You're stubborn. And you love that, she replied. They launched the second burst stronger than before. A wave of energy pushed the forms back. Then the ship jumped to light speed. Back at Serathis, the council watched the live recording. For the first time, they saw the real face of the threat. The Emperor stood slowly. Now we know, Ravi. And Nira returned after 2 days. The ship was damaged, but they were safe. The council greeted them with respect. You've done more than survive, Tharos said. You've given us the truth. Ravi stepped forward. Now it's time to build what can defeat them. With that, the Great Alliance began. Humans, Zarnok rebels, council worlds, all working together. New weapons were designed using light. New shields were powered by pure energy waves. And a warning was sent to every corner of the galaxy. Do not answer strange voices. Do not follow unknown signals. Watch the dark, but do not speak to it. Weeks passed. Ravi and Nira stood again under the stars. But this time, they stood not as strangers or forced partners, but as the defenders of a future. Do you think they'll return? She asked. They always return, Ravi replied. But next time, we'll be ready and far in the silence of space. Where shadows moved like ghosts, a new battle waited to begin. But now, humanity was no longer alone, and their once filthy soldier had become a legend.